Hi, I'm Sylvia Yu. Welcome to my show, Inspiring You with Sylvia Yu. I am honored to introduce my next guest, Vekeana Dhillon. She is a multi-talented screenwriter, series creator, and a playwright, and a prolific writer to boot. As creator-in-chief of The Foundry, she's writing feature films, series, podcasts, and animation projects. Vekeana is an Indo-Canadian based in India with 5 feature films under her belt, including the award-winning Kisaan. Vekeana is also the ambassador for India for the Asian Academy Creative Awards. Vekeana, what would you say are like 2 or 3 major milestones in your career and life?
Oh, goodness, that's a great question. I would think that sometimes when I look back at what I've accomplished and how fiercely I've approached it, 3 things do pop out. I think one would be when I came to India from Canada, and I think this was like, I don't know, 18, 19, 20, around that time. And I got immersed into the world of Bollywood, kitschy, colorful, bright, brilliant, vivid, uh, wonderful, wonderful world. And I made my entrance as a VJ at Channel V. And this was the first time, growing up in an Asian household in Canada and such, that I made the jump from a career that was skewed towards academics. In fact, I had wanted to go, I did my BSc in biology and I wanted to go off into med school. And then I ended up here in India, back to the motherland. And I thought, wow, here's my opportunity for Connect. And I went ahead and chucked all my textbooks away and I took on pouty lip gloss and spaghetti straps and really enjoyed putting myself in front of the camera and as a VJ. And that did one thing for me, one particular thing that I think speaks most directly to where I am right now is I would have to write all my own material. And so for unscripted, and that quite naturally propagated me being able to submit to my inclination to write my own fictions all the time. That makes me sound like I'm like this
No.
talking liar. But no, I
I
loved
understand.
the idea of I just loved the idea of expressing myself so fully, and being a VJ allowed me to do that. But what it also did, as I, you're in your family, you go to high school, you go to college, and then okay, you go out into the workforce, and if we're really lucky, that is not such a confining experience. So for me to do something that was so in your face, running around, chasing down people, trying to get bites, having great conversations, I was able to see that with the interaction I was having with people, is that we're all inherent storytellers. We're all natural born spectators and very easygoing eavesdroppers. And I realized all of that together meant that I had another means of expressing myself through writing. And then my second milestone, I suppose, would be my first screenplay.
Oh.
And I think there's a moment in your career, and I suppose this is just generally, especially if someone's in the creative arts, is that there's a moment when someone tells you
Mm.
you're a writer. And there's a moment when you yourself know. And I was able to collude both of those together when my very first script that I ended up writing was actually produced and out there. And that was I Proud to Be an Indian. And it's a cult classic. And even at that time when I was writing things, things were, I was, I was finding, we talk about in screenwriting, finding your voice. And I think I had a very adamant, strong voice, which I think got squashed down a little bit
Oh.
because perhaps I was a bit too much, perhaps a bit too progressive. But as time's gone by, as the years have gone by, I've been able to more eloquently put myself across, and not intimidate or not scatterbrain someone with a pummeling of my thoughts. So I've learned to massage it along the way and get it across. And I think that brings me to my third milestone, which be where I am right now as creator-in-chief at the Foundry. I've I have a hard time saying I, especially when it comes to the company, because this is a accumulation of all the work that I've done over the years. So I'm in a position right now where I don't have to get a script commissioned in order for me to write it, or I don't need to get someone to say yes, go ahead. So I've amalgamated, I think, hundreds of stories, and I've been able to shuffle them across our 4 divisions as podcasts, as feature films, as scripts, and as animation projects, as you rightly mentioned. And what's so phenomenal about that is that I can do this without I can create and I can develop series, and I don't have to rely on anyone else other than my own sense of appropriateness, or veracity of, yes, this is a story that I intuitively know will work. This is a film that I would want to watch. This is an original audio podcast that would have me, pushing the earbud deeper into my ear so I could just get totally entranced into this, So there's I think you can see there's an excitement about the work that I'm doing right now. It comes from years and years and years of some hard knocks, some rolling with the punches, but and that's not just me, that's everyone. In order to get to where you want to get to, oh man, do we push that rock up that mountain, and sometimes it does more than just come back down at us and crush our toe. But when we get there, we're so thrilled. So now I can push out human, vivid, clarifying stories, not just here in India, but also globally. And that is definitely the trend now. Everything is global, and quite rightly so. So I've created a self-sufficient ecosystem here in the company where I just churn out wonderful, wonderful work, and we're flinging it out there, and we're getting phenomenal, heart reassuring for me as a writer, as a creator, that yes, I was right about that. Oh, I'm right about that too. So I'm not completely inane, and it's a great vindication for someone,
It's an amazing place to be, to transition into your own boss. I'm interested in hearing more about you're pushing the boulder up the hill, which is everyone's experience, especially in the entertainment world, where no is more common than a green light. So can you give us an example of, when it was so hard, and then what got you to persevere? What helped you to keep going?
Rejection, I think, is such an inherent part of any aspect, from actor, director, to a producer, to even a stunt fellow or whatever. This sense, or even with modeling, which was what I did a little bit of it in the beginning, but never before in my life, and I was thinking academics. So, all right, you flunked an exam, you wrote an essay, and okay, it didn't get where it needed to go. All of a sudden now, if you're in the creative field, all of a sudden it's you. So in this business, your personality, who you are, is the transactional commodity. So if someone is rejecting anything, they're rejecting you. And that can be a hard pill to swallow initially. Of course, it starts off with your ideas. It starts off with your scripts, but fundamentally, all those ideas are all churning out of this wonderful furnace called experience and my perspective and my view. And this is how I process the world and then push it back out there. So that, in a sense, was a hard task, because all of a sudden you're like, what? But it's a good idea. The other thing is also the market conventions. So what is demanded of the market? All right, so here I am here in India initially, and I was pitching these progressive ideas that, you know, this is, I've never seen a woman like this, and this is what I want to progress. Or I've never seen a quirky family that does this. And some of the feedback that I'd be getting, or the pushback rather, would be, yeah, but we don't see women like that. You know, and that's not how women behave, which, believe me, led to a lot more other conversations that I've learned to now nuance. But at the time, I didn't, because it would be such a knee-jerk way. You know, I mean, I have sat in meetings where our co-founders, Vineet Sira and Vikram Dhillon, they are, Vikram Dhillon's my brother, Vineet Sira is my husband. We all work together here at the Foundry. And I will tell you, even though you think that you're primed for it and you've gotten it, sometimes someone will just shock the bejesus out of you, that I end up just, you know, and they say my face says it all, even in a meet, and I'll get kicked underneath the table because it looks like I've gone apoplectic and I won't breathe, because I'm just so stunned by the audacity of what was just said to me, you know. And sometimes it's a cultural thing, sometimes it's a female thing, sometimes it's just a person thing, you know. So those are things that you have to learn along the way to absorb and get through. And again, I think this is something that's just indicative of just careers in general. You are going to have that boss. You are going to have that coworker that's always waiting for you to, you know, whatever. So there are those things. And I think for me, particularly growing up in Canada and then coming here, there was another thing that suddenly surprised me. Because in Canada, okay, you grow up I grew up in small town Alberta, loved it. And you look, and I am sure you'd probably relate to this as well, is that how do you relate to your culture in a foreign land? So now we know most immediately it's entertainment, that you can watch a film, you can see a series, you can see yourself reflected in what you see on screen. You know, this is besides the temple visits and then, you know, pulling out the frozen bags of samosas when guests come over and, you know, wearing something ethnic, right? But at that time, for me, it was food. So it was food and culture and I'm digressing a little bit here, and I was just remembering how, you know, everything we eat is so pungent, and ginger, garlic, onion, all of that stuff. And I'm just remembering how when I'd go to school, one of the things that would happen would be I would have I didn't realize that I was odoriferous. I didn't realize I was that pungent. I thought I smelled delicious. Anyways, but the point is that there was an otherness even then. And so now you've grown up, you're an adult, and here you are, here. And let me just go back one moment. The other thing was also growing up was that I never saw anyone that reflected enough Indianness. I'm an Indo-Canadian. There were days that I was more Indo than Canadian to someone else's perspective, most definitely. And here in India, I was thinking, okay, fine, I get to go back. It's my motherland. I will connect. This is it. This is that missing link or that missing piece or that. And I would find that when I would come here, that otherness would be resurrected yet again, but again in a different form. So me as a female, perhaps I wasn't as, you know, maybe I wasn't as typical as some of the females other people were encountering. Absolutely. So there was an otherness there.
You were a bridge. You were a bridge between, I mean, you've become a bridge between Canada and India. and there were some
And
hiccups and some rough transitions along the way, and you've hit your stride now. But if we can just turn back the clock to when you were this little girl, one of like three families, Indian families, living in small town Alberta, what was that like? And did you really embrace your Indian identity through it all, or did you, like myself, have like a crisis? I mean, we have like a diversity of voices among Asians in Canada and the US and the West. Yeah, what was it like for you?
first off, my dad worked with Health and Welfare Canada, so he traveled from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, and they were fresh immigrants. So there, so I think by the time that I was consciously aware of myself and the world and whatever, they'd been there maybe 5 years, 6 years, such. So a lot of how I could process the world was from the indications that I was given by my family or my parents, namely, and how they did it. And they did it beautifully. Like I will gush to death about my parents. I hope I can be a parent like they are. I hope I can be the kind of humans that they're. They're just, you know, everyone's parents are, except for those that obviously aren't, you know, and visit them in jail. So so it was beautiful small town living. I mean, you would remember this is stuff like, you know, you can leave the doors unlocked. There were
Yeah.
pillows in the tree, you know, men with cowboy hats would tip their head at ladies walking by. There was fantastic cheddar. There was, you know, that warm Chinook that would just come over, and sometimes, and it would just smell like beautiful green grass, or sometimes you would get hit with cow dung, you know, just the scent of it all. So this was a fully beautiful, immersive life experience. And then you, as one of three families, there was a novelty factor to us quite naturally. And that's what's so interesting, is that in the beginning, you might be considered special for your uniqueness. And then in some people's minds, obviously prejudicial minds, that uniqueness becomes something that's too foreign, too strange. So special becomes strange.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, it's not like we were running around doing bhangra down the streets, which is now such a wonderful thing that does happen. But at that time, no. I think that time it was just a question of my parents just processing and living in this environment. And they did it. Dad was a public health inspector. My mother was a public nurse. So they dealt with community a lot.
Mm.
But then it would pop up. I think the very first time was when some, you know, measly faced, snot ringing G guy came up to me and said, "You're a Paki."
Oh.
And I was like, you know, and then I went back home and I told my father, you know, my father that survived through the partition, you know, and I told my father's response, well, you go back to that boy and you tell him you're not Paki, you're Indian. And so that's exactly what I did. So I went, but I'm not Paki, I'm Indian. And of course that guy didn't know. And it didn't make a difference to him, because it just, you know, yeah, I don't know.
I loved your spirit. Like you, yeah, that was there. It expressed itself early on, right?
Yeah.
Your chutzpah, your determination.
I think, you know what? I think that's because we're immigrants. You know, and I think just generally speaking, that migration experience is something that is so strong and set in us. And I don't just mean from country to country, that as Asians, family is so important to us. Obviously not more than anyone else's, but just speaking more particularly to it. So we grew up in this continent called family. And then we have to migrate into adulthood, and some of us have packed better than others, let's say, let's
Yeah.
put it that way. And then they just go out there zinging in life. So all those skills, the idea of, am I Indian, am I Canadian, am I a feminine girl, am I a girl with chutzpah? Should I sit there and just bide my time and be quiet, or should I tell them what I really think? So there's one of the things I think this, as particularly this not Alberta experience, but just being an Indo-Canadian growing up, and even though it is a cultural pot, there are some people that want to turn the heat down on that, and some people that want to crank it up. And so you're dealing with a lot of those people, and it's either this way or it's that way. And it took me a long time to realize it doesn't have to be, that there's many slices and there's many moments in between of who you are and the full expression of who you are that you can glimmer in. And all of that I'm grateful for, because that is what has allowed me now not to restrict myself as a writer that can only write comedies. That's one of the things that earlier on in my career you're told is that, oh, so what's your wheelhouse? And I'd say, oh, I write what I want to say. Yeah. Is it comedy? Is it drama? What is it? And here in India, I got honed because every commercial Hindi film here is a comedy, drama, tragedy, sci-fi. Or it's so, and you don't hone your teeth on Jello, do you? So those experiences helped me. Having to adapt very quickly to where you have to think more expansively and have a mind stretched helped. And now as a result, I can write across formats, across genres, and do it well, and do it fully, because I understand the key of all of that is just nabbing a great character. And if you can express that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be accurate, as long as it's authentic. And you can do that. And one of the reasons you can do that is because you, as a writer, if you have as many crappy experiences, as many wonderful experiences, as many full-on lived experiences, and that means growing up in small town Alberta, living a sheltered life, going out later on and dealing with idiots sometimes, dealing with people that valued your experience or your expression of yourself even more. It just, all of that just feeds up into this great emotional bounty that you can use and exploit to your own benefit all the times. So thank you, Mr. Bully. You helped. So don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't encourage bullies by any means. I wear stilettos now, so yeah.
Oh wow, you're still wearing stilettos. I've had to like shrink. It's now 3 inches instead of the 4 as I get older. But yeah, no, switching gears to, what is your secret sauce to success? Like, what would you say, is the reason for how successful you've been, and is there a person who has inspired you, a single person? But what's your secret sauce, Vekeana?
I think my secret sauce is a combination of two. One is incredible support, and the other is stubbornness. Do it anyways. Do it anyways. There's enough people out there telling people not to dream big enough, not to do it, not to pick up the phone and speak to the head of content. Call the president of the company if you want something. Go for it. Don't restrict yourself. Yeah, I think that would probably be my secret sauce, is that I just quite simply do it anyways. Do it for yourself, because we all bring a currency. Mine might be cultural or feminine, or but that's just a springboard. Just be active and preemptive. So I think that's one thing that I've done. Some degrees much better than others in a situation, but overall it's helped. And secondly, or primarily, I think it's support, because until you can believe in yourself that you're capable of doing something, sometimes you need someone else to believe for you. So you need them to be your confidence training wheels when you're getting out there in the world in the bike. And when you're ready, you can take off there. They believe it for you before you believe it for yourself. And I was lucky. I've had many people, because when you're younger, I think we just have this idea that it's I'm at the start line and that person's at the goal and it's a straight line. And if I just emulate how they did it, I'm going to get there. And then when we get older, we realize, no, babe, there's twists and turns and these, gut-wrenching hairpin flips that just have you going all over the place. And then I realized I need to find people along the way, and not as a whole person, because we're all these fallible, wonderful creatures, but you just take an aspect of what that one person has and see how they've handled something, and that will inspire you. So for inspiring me, it was my mother, and I will tell you, it's one of the greatest shames of my life that I didn't realize who she truly was until after she passed. And then I realized, oh my goodness, what this woman lived. And I only saw this aspect of her as she's, as I was looking up at her, or as she got older, as I was looking down at her seated. I just saw this one facade called motherhood, and I never saw this world called woman behind it. So in retrospect, from stories or finding her writing, she was a prolific writer. I never knew, I knew she wrote a little bit, and I thought, okay, she was a woman where no tissue box was safe from her, because she would flip it over and she would scribble something. Or our school books, if there was a blank page in the notebook, she would write something. And then I would find this afterwards and realize, oh my God, there was so much to this.
Yes.
And so she, in retrospect now, inspires me, knowing what I know about her. She's the bomb, and that's who I want to be. And right now, most immediately, I think to myself sometimes, and everyone can do this, it doesn't have to be, just like I was saying earlier, just find brilliance in the people that are just immediately next to you. And I see that with my husband Beneath. He's just this incredibly joyous man. You can't slap the happy off of this fellow. And his attitude always is about just making. He's the most optimistic. There's this dignity of self and others that he'll inculcate in you. He's a leap and then he'll look guy. And I've learned from him that you're only as weak as your weakest thought. And so he's my training wheels in that. And my second one, and they're very different personalities, is my brother who you met March earlier. He's fiercely loyal. From him, I've learned that you just never give up. You never give up. He's the guy that will hack through the with the machete through the jungle of life, and he will get you there. And I've learned about courage and strategy, and where Puneet helps me learn to think more optimistically about something, Vikram is trying to teach me always to think less reactively. And actually, we had a conversation the other day where I sat him down and he says, sometimes you just worry a bit too much, this deal is going through and you're like, yeah, but this could happen. And I go, hey, hang on. I'm a screenwriter. The plot doesn't move forward until someone makes a poor choice. So all I've trained myself to do when it comes to my characters is to put them from one careening crisis to another. It's my job to think, what is the worst thing that could happen to this person? And I go, and that's how stories are made. And so, yes, it influences me. But they constantly inspire me every day. And if you are an average of the 5 people that you're supposed to, that you spend time with, then I think I'm in pretty good shape.
Oh, that's beautiful. And with Michelle Yeoh winning the Oscar in her 60s, I think, right? I mean, she really blew the ceiling away for all women. And it inspires me to keep keep going at, you know, at my craft and all that. What's your next dream? Like, what would you love to see in the movie theaters now?
I think anything is possible.
Mm.
I think we're in a, and it's through any means and forms as well. So I just want to see the best expression of humanity. Maybe it's because, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm getting close to my birthday and now I'm just thinking, oh, life, world, and all that stuff. But, you know, I'm hoping for more inspiring, more hopeful, more unifying trends, you know, in terms of characters and the families and the stories and the people that we see. And I think I try to do a lot of that in my work, especially with what I'm trying to push out there. But I think the idea that culture doesn't separate us. I don't know if that makes sense, in the sense that, like, I told someone, I told someone a story and they said, yeah, but, you know, can we get rid of this Indian aspect? And I said, sure, go ahead. We can put an Italian family and they would have the same, if they're a dysfunctional family, they would have the same experience. We can put a Greek family. We can get someone from, you know, Indiana. Go ahead. That doesn't matter, because it still speaks to the story.
Yeah.
So while culture is this wonderful blanket that we can mount on a story or a script or something, and I want to see more of it. I'm so glad that we're seeing these past few years. Is just, you know, whether it was oh gosh, see, now you learn this about me, I always forget titles, except my own.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, but, you know, we've seen such an influx of such great examples of culture just sparkling, whether it's from the Korean series, the Money Heist, or Spanish, you know, just everywhere.
Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant stuff. So I want to see even more of that. But I don't want to see it getting and I don't know if I'm going to counter myself by saying this, is that I want to see that sparkle shine brilliantly without it becoming something that's almost too pat or too
Too commercialized.
yes.
Yes.
I want to see it gristly, and I want to see it, you know, and I don't want to get scuff off the edges. Because look, everything's going global. I'm constantly dealing with people across the board from me, and one of the things that I see is the gatekeepers that are in charge of, you know, commissioning or getting these you know, financing or getting these things across, is that if it's something that's so culturally dynamic, then how necessarily are they the best people to adjudicate whether this is a fine example to be put onto a platform and such? You know, is this are they thinking about their primary audience that is about to accept something so culturally vibrant, but then they are that culture? So does it have to be padded down for it to be, you know, palatable for them? Or can it be something so fully crazy and out there, and will they have the courage to step up and say, yes, go for it? And so what I'm seeing now is that more and more people are doing that, and I hope it's not a trend, and I hope it's just what the world is now, because we need more wonderful things every day. I think every single one of us should have that.
We need more hope. We need more, you know, old-fashioned Hollywood movies, like Top Gun saved movie theaters, right? Or that's what Steven Spielberg told Tom Cruise at an award ceremony. And yeah, I mean, I just enjoyed the sheer you know, the amazing visuals, the fluffy storyline. I mean, it was just nice to watch a movie and just, you know, park your brain, like not think too hard.
I think now's the time for that, because now how are we consuming our content? It's across the carousel. So
Yeah.
now, particularly those that want those lovey, we call them mass films here in India, but lovey, massy commercial films, there's a place for you to go, and there's a lot of content for you to absorb as a result. And those people that are just, just off on the fringe and then just want to see sci-fi Bigfoot
Right.
films with a thriller angle.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
stuff for
Yeah.
them out there too, or will
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Well, normally I'm not a fan of Top Gun, but after the pandemic, and not having gone to the movie theater in, how many years, it was just nice to see this, this old-fashioned real Hollywood movie. And that's not my jam. Usually I gravitate to more like Succession type of series, which I love.
I love smart writing. I mean, they
Mm,
keep the remote away from me when we're watching TV because it just, it kills me. I hate lazy writing. So if you can
yeah.
get something that's sharp and slick
Yes.
and smart and
So what's next for you, Vekeana? You are working on several different projects, and please share your website after.
So here at the Foundry, as Creator-in-Chief, one of the things I'm very excited about is we're about to launch our website. So we've created a development catalog of over 250 IPs. This is for commissioners, for co-producers, for financiers, for people who just want to connect with us and see what's possible to collaborate as well. And what's phenomenal about it is that from the people that I'm talking to, that we're exceptional for having such a wealth of content, which I'm happy to be responsible for creating much of that. And so now and again, across our 4 divisions. So it's a very exciting time, not just the work that we're about to do in India, we're doing it across Europe and North America, both in and multiple languages as well, Hindi as well as an English series for linear TV for platforms. It's a very exciting, incredible time for us. So our website will be out, I think, maybe about 6 weeks. So www.thefoundry.co.in. And otherwise, in the meanwhile, LinkedIn. I am so grateful for LinkedIn. I have met the most phenomenal, incredible people here. And so anyone can always get in touch with me here until then.
Excellent. And that's how you and I connected. I mean, I loved your writing. You were cracking jokes. This was several years ago, but I remembered you, and yeah, I'm just so grateful we're able to have this conversation today.
Can I
Thank you
say
so much.
something to you, Sylvia? I have to tell you, I have admired you from afar for a long time.
Oh, thank you.
It's phenomenal what you're doing in bits and big leaps and big chunks. It's just, I just want to know that, you're seen, and it's incredible, and it's inspiring, and it's so helpful. And I really think, and I say this very rarely, you're really making the world a better place. And I'm so happy to have had this conversation with you.
I'm so touched. You are such a beautiful, sparkly, inspiring woman, and it's an honor to have this conversation with you today. Vekeana Dhillon, you will see her doing great things. She's a trailblazer. Watch her in the coming months, years, and thank you for watching our show. Bye.